Marhaba bikum. Bikum. Nice to see you all. So Mike, thank you. Thank you. Nate, thank you very much for being in charge of this group. It's great to see the American and the Lebanese flag together. I can't tell you how honored I am to be a Lebanese American, so thank you very much. So there's a lot I'm going to talk about tonight, but none of it has anything to do with politics. It doesn't have to do with the situation in the Middle East. It has to do with being a Lebanese American. And it's a good thing. My wife's not so sure about this. She has been captured. She has blood from Spain and many different places, but not Lebanon. Maybe Lebanon. We'll get to that later. But I'd like my wife and my 3 children to stand up, and I'd just like to show them off because they're wonderful people. Before I met Donald Rumsfeld, I was as tall as my son. So, I mean, that was a very difficult thing. And, my kids have great people at their sides, and we're very proud of all of them. And my 3 kids, I can look at them and communicate with Lebanese brainwaves. My wife never knows what we're thinking. So, it's very important. I know many of you know how this works. But we bring in other cultures, make them like us, and then they are sorry forever. So when it came time to retire from the Army, Kathy and I grew up in the Sierra Nevada mountains on the California-Nevada border area. And a lot of people can't understand why would a retired general from the U.S. Army retire from the Army and go to that area. And of course, we go to that area because I love that area. We grew up there. We went to high school together there, etc. I rescued her from a small mountain town. If she hadn't married me, she would have had to marry her first cousin. You all know about this. You all understand this very well. But so when I go to Washington, I try to explain to people why did I retire in the California-Nevada border area? And I get tired of saying it's my hometown, I love it, etc. So finally I say, look, it's a lot like Afghanistan-Pakistan border area. I felt comfortable there, you know. Everybody is heavily armed. A lot of drugs come across the border. You know, there's militias, and I'm Lebanese, and I thought it was good to build a militia. It's very interesting to grow up as a Lebanese American. And I was trying to figure out, how do I convey to a group of Lebanese how Lebanese are? And I'm 3rd generation. My family, and by the way, I'd like to recognize the Boston portion of the Abizaid family. If you would all raise your hands or stand up or do whatever. We want to thank the Boston Abizaids. And there are also Lebanese Abizaids and Abuzaids, and it's very good to have all of them here. Thank you all very much for being here. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's anybody else here but Abizaids. No wonder I'm so popular. But it's good to see you. Thank you for coming, and it's great for us to get together. But I'm trying to figure out, how do you convey to Lebanese how Lebanese are, how it is to grow up. And I'm 3rd generation. My family came in 1875. Okay? That's a long time ago. My father never spoke, well, he learned how to speak Arabic, but he didn't want us to learn how to speak Arabic. He thought it was important to assimilate into the culture. My uncles, aunts, etc., they were all World War II generation. All my uncles fought in World War II. My father fought in the Navy in World War II in the Solomon Islands. And it's hard to explain, how is it after 3 generations that I feel Lebanese? It's because it's a strong culture. with good people, with good ideas about faith and future and family, and we should all be very, very proud of that. And I was trying to figure out how do I describe to this crowd how things are with Lebanese. And I was riding over from the Hotel Charles with Mike and Tony, and we're driving down the road, and Mike says, "Tony, which way do I go?" And Mike says, "This is not the way." And Tony says, "No, it's not the way." And then Mike says, "Yes, it is the way." And then Tony says, "Mike, you're right." And Tony says, "No, I'm not right." And, only Lebanese can argue this way. And I thought, this is like being with my uncles, where they would have arguments all the time. They argued to argue. So we know that Lebanese argue to argue. And even when 1 minute previous they had one position, they'll switch it just to continue the argument. You know this. Third generation people, you know this, correct? You know. So then you're sitting at the table, and you go over to your friend's house that are Irish, English, etc. You go there, and then you're at their house, and somebody puts some food in front of you, and you say, "No, thank you." And they say, "Oh, thank you." They pull it away. And you say, "I would like to try some of that, but only a little bit." And they say, "Oh, just a little bit, of course." But then I would go to my relative's house, and I would say to my Aunt Patty, "No, thank you. I really don't want any more tabbouleh." "You hate me! You are killing me! You must eat more of this." So this is also Lebanese. You will get it whether you want it or not. Correct? We all know this. This is very important to know. So we have the Lebanese trait of we will argue no matter what. Okay? That's one. Then we have you must eat until you die, or you will be removed from the family forever. Then there's the other trait called we can sell anything. It's a very important trait. Very important trait. The Lebanese Abizaid family from Boston had a great-grandfather who wrote a book that proclaimed the earth was flat. And he sold it. And he became rich. And from this, and he put all of his kids, made them all lawyers and doctors and politicians. And from this I learned Lebanese are good businessmen. And the final thing I'll tell you about Lebanese, we can make a deal. We can make, right? Can we make a deal? We can make it. Look at our country. Can we make a deal? We can make a deal better than anybody. Look, I kid about being Lebanese, and I will tell you a couple of real things that are important to me before I get out off the stage here. Lebanon and our culture and our families and our future and our faith are important to us, whatever our faith may be. Family. Family is the central thesis of being Lebanese. We're proud of our families. We'll do anything for our families. We'll work to make them better, and it doesn't matter whether we're at home or abroad. We will work to make our families strong and prosperous and capable of achieving whatever needs to be done. Being Lebanese, it's so interesting to me how this culture is the way that it is. But my son, who's a great guy, also a former member of the U.S. Army, my son, when he was young, maybe in his teens, young teens, I walked by him and I'm looking at his computer screen, and on there is the flag of Lebanon. And I said, well, where did that come from? Why is that on there? He said, because this is who we are. And it made me think that there's something very, very strong and special about this culture of Lebanon that brings us in, whether we like it or not, puts its arms around us, makes us think about how things work and how we can make things better for our family. Lebanon's also about faith. In fact, it's about many faiths. If we could only get all of the faiths to do the things that they know are right inside Lebanon, to be able to enjoy like we do tonight, regardless of our religious affiliation, for the right reasons, if we could really commit to our faith, not only here, but also in Lebanon, there would be nothing stopping that small country in the Mediterranean. It's amazing when I think of family and faith. But I also think of another thing about Lebanon, and that is future. No matter how tough things were in the homeland, we would sally forth and figure out how to build a better future for our families, for our faith, because we believed in a future that could be better. And we built a future that could be better. I've had family members that built a better future in Brazil, in Mexico, in the United States. There are Lebanese all over the world that have figured out that no matter how tough things are at home, they can build a better future. These things, future, faith, and family, we should all be extremely proud of. It has nothing to do with your religion. It has a lot to do with your culture, and we should be extremely proud of that. In closing, I want to tell you a couple things. I can remember sitting around the table with all my uncles, and I'm a young guy, and I'm trying to figure out, what is this thing about Lebanon? And so, I didn't know, what exactly am I? I knew I was an American, of course. I said, okay, what are we? Are we Arabs? And one of my uncles said, hey, we're Lebanese. And then another one of my uncles said, wait a second, we're Phoenicians. And let me tell you, that's what Adam and Eve were. They were Phoenicians. And so I said, okay, well, I guess this is going to be a great ride learning how to be a Lebanese. But in all seriousness, as I commanded the forces of American troops in many different places, by the way, to include Lebanon as well, many years ago, down in southern Lebanon when I worked for the United Nations, it always gave me great comfort when the Lebanese American soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines would come up to me and say, we're very proud to serve our country. We're proud to serve the United States of America because we can build a bridge between our culture and the culture of the people in the area in which we're operating. We know that's a difficult task. We know it's not easy to do, but we know how to do it, and we're proud to be able to do it. So for all the Lebanese that have served in our armed forces, I want to thank them. And for all the Lebanese everywhere who create this great joy of faith and family and future, thank you, God bless you, and let's have a good party.